Guy, welcome to the show. Tell me who you are, what do you do, and why you're here.
Okay. Hello, Ivan. My name is Guy Nadivi. I'm a senior marketing executive, primarily in high tech, with the bulk of my experience in marketing products and services in the automation, AI, and cybersecurity fields.
Interesting. It's going to be quite an episode today. So, tell me to start, how did you end up into marketing?
Well, not by design, like a lot of people I know. I fell into this profession back in a different life. I used to be a techie. Specifically, I was a Lotus Notes Domino consultant, and I ran my own 16-person practice. And as the firm grew, I no longer had as much time to do the technical stuff. So I had to focus more on managing the business and keeping a steady flow of customers streaming in. And that meant I had to devote more of myself to sales and marketing. So because I came from a technical consultative mindset, I applied that same problem-solving mindset to the kinds of marketing material that we produced and the marketing outreach that we did. Please keep in mind, this was way before the digital marketing revolution and social media and all that. And ever since then, I've always been involved in marketing wherever I've worked, even if it wasn't part of my formal role.
And that's, I guess, that's been decades now, right? Since you're into the marketing world.
Yeah.
How do you define marketing? What is marketing?
There are arguably a million different definitions out there for marketing, and most of them are probably pretty valid, but my personal definition is very simple. Marketing is all about delivering the right message in the right format at the right time to the right person. That's it. It's really that simple, or at least it's that simple to define. It's a little more challenging to put into practice. So maybe I should probably elaborate on that a little bit. What's the right message? Well, that's constantly evolving for most organizations, but I'm a firm believer that it should always be some variation of, we can solve your problem better than anyone else. Whether you're better at solving a given problem through superior features, better performance, industry-leading ease of use, or just you do what everyone else does, but at a lower price point, your messaging needs to encapsulate what makes you a better solution at solving a particular problem than anyone else. What's the right format? Well, today it's often digital in the form of Google Ads, social media, videos, especially short form, thanks to TikTok, email, etc. Digital is king right now. But the right format for your audience can also include TV ads, or radio ads, or podcasting. And, there's still a place for the physically printed format too, like brochures and data sheets. But I think ultimately the right format or the right mix of formats is the one that your audience is most likely to consume. What's the right time to deliver the message? That's actually the easiest one to answer. The right time is all the time, 24 hours a day, because thanks to the internet, you've got to have your message ready and available for prospects whenever they're ready to consume it. And that could be any time. By the way, there's lots of statistics out there from various surveys out there about this, that as many as 70% of B2B buyers do research before contacting a salesperson. I think it's pretty comparable for retail consumers as well, right? You're shopping for a car, you're going to check automakers' websites, maybe car and driver reviews, maybe consumer reports rankings. It's all research. Think about just going to a restaurant. Before we go out to eat, my wife does research by going on Yelp and reading reviews. She also pores over a restaurant's online menu to decide what her short list of choices for dinner will be. People are conducting research for things as mundane as dining out. So you have to have your message, your value proposition, all your relevant sales collateral ready and waiting for your buyers to research you easily on demand. The final component of my personal marketing definition is delivering the right message to the right person. Who's the right person? Obviously, that's unique for every business, but sometimes it can be really difficult to determine. For example, I worked at an automation startup for many years and helped grow the business until it was eventually acquired by one of our competitors. And for much of that time, we had a challenge, quite a challenge, defining our ICP, our ideal customer profile. And the reason was because the market for the kind of automation we were selling was still very embryonic. So, unlike a company selling financial products and probably targeting a chief financial officer, we couldn't target a chief automation officer. That title was almost entirely non-existent. In fact, it still is. So who was the right person for us to deliver our message to? Well, sometimes it was the CIO. Sometimes it was someone at a lower level, like a help desk technician. Sometimes it was a person in between the two, like a mid-level IT manager. It was all over the map. So we had to have different messages for different buyer personas. Anyways, you put this all together and you have my definition of marketing, delivering the right message in the right format at the right time to the right person.
Interesting. And what would you say are your marketing specialties? What are you best at?
Well, at this point in my career, I think of myself less in terms of specialties and more as an orchestra conductor. A conductor doesn't need to know how to play every single instrument in the orchestra, but he or she does need to know what all those instruments should sound like if you want them to play harmonious music together. So marketing-wise, the instruments I'm good at playing are storytelling, messaging, positioning, content production, utilizing thought leadership to project domain authority and generate demand, and managing the entire go-to-market lifecycle. I'd say those are all strong suits of mine, but putting them all together and managing them, along with the many other aspects of marketing, are where I deliver the most value.
Interesting. And as you said, your role and what you are best at, what you actually enjoying and doing the most at the moment is like managing an orchestra, right? What I found over the year is people find it very difficult to transition from doing everything themselves, even doesn't matter if it's marketing or sales, to put themselves in a position where they say, well, I'm not supposed to be doing everything. And what do you think is the biggest challenge people face when they come to this roundabout, if I can say like that, where they need to start delegate things and actually managing their own orchestra in order to grow with their marketing or with their sales team? Because I found people being getting a stage where they become perfectionists and they believe nobody can do it as good as they can do. So what was your challenge shifting from doing it all in marketing to being actually the person who managed the orchestra? What do you believe? What do you think?
Well, the people who believe that are perfectionists and believe that they're the only ones that can do it the right way are 100% correct. Nevertheless, perfection is the enemy of good enough. And if you want to have any chance of growth, if that is a goal, you're going to have to learn to get by with good enough, because perfection is impossible. When I had my Lotus Notes Domino consulting firm, I faced that exact same problem. I was a bit of a perfectionist. I was doing the technical stuff, and then I was doing more of the business stuff, the management, the marketing, the sales. And you come to the realization pretty quick, if you're experiencing serious growth like we did, that as the saying goes, you can't ride two horses with one ass. You have to choose what you're best at, and you have to focus and bring in other really good, really talented people to manage the other stuff. Otherwise, you're going to be overwhelmed and you're going to be pretty frustrated, and you might eventually fail, not just business-wise, but health-wise. So everybody has a limit, and you need to understand what yours are and what you're good at and what you need to delegate.
I think you said perfection is the enemy of good enough, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I need to write that down. I need to put it on a poster in front of my eyes there
I
on
don't think
that
I can
wall.
take credit for that one. I think I read that somewhere else.
Oh, it doesn't matter, but I haven't heard it, so really well said. Thank you for sharing that. I needed to hear that myself too. Okay. I would say over the years, what is the most impactful marketing tactic you ever personally devised or been involved in?
Well, one that comes to mind is something I came up with in the very earliest days of social networking. Back before Facebook achieved market domination in the in the brief MySpace era. For those of you who go back that far, like myself, I used to work for a company called Intro Networks. Intro Networks was a software company that published private social networks as opposed to a public social network like Facebook or LinkedIn. So what that means is we deployed private social networks for unique communities. For example, a publication like Fortune magazine had a community of subscribers, and we deployed our private social network to them. Um, Harvard Business School had a community of alumni. We deployed a private social network for them. I remember Royal Caribbean Cruise Lines had a community of passengers, and they were perfect for a private social network. But our best known customer by far was the TED conference. You're familiar with the TED conference and their famous
Oh,
TED
of
Talks,
course.
right?
Of course, yep.
Yeah, world famous.
That's the
So
only thing people should watch on YouTube, I think.
yeah, good point. It's great content. So for anyone who might not be familiar, the TED conference was an annual back then was an annual 3-day gathering of business, government, and academic decision makers, the top leadership, former U.S. presidents, Fortune 500 CEOs, heads of elite universities were among the chosen few who got to attend this very exclusive event of less than 1,000 people. And Intro Networks, the company I worked for, was for many years the private social network provider for this event. And in the early days of social networking, Intro Networks was a very novel aspect of the TED conference. Excuse me, especially with its very visually oriented interface that had some super cool features. I won't bore your listeners with the details, but suffice it to say that everyone who attended the TED conference in person loved using our private social networking tool. And that gave me an idea. We should be using our own social networking tool to market directly to the attendees of TED. After all, no matter what organization they were from, they were almost certainly that organization's ultimate decision maker. You know, as a marketer, you can't ask for a better target audience. So now, actually, one thing I want to mention before sharing my marketing tactic was that Intra Networks was co-owned by a married couple named Mark Sylvester and Kimberly Weil, two really amazing entrepreneurs who I'm still good friends with to this day. And Mark was a rather conspicuously visible presence at these events because, excuse me, he's really tall, like 6'4" or 6'5", which is like about 2 meters tall for your non-US listeners. And he always wore tasteful but very eye-catching Hawaiian shirts. That was his look. So as the really tall guy wearing the tropical print, he stood out everywhere immediately. Okay, so here's what my rather simple but highly effective marketing tactic was. Working from my home office, I logged into the TED Conference Intro Network as Mark. And using the system's built-in messaging tool, I went one by one to each attendee, and I sent them a note that was something along the lines of, hey, Ivan, Mark Sylvester here. Hope you're enjoying the TED Conference and the social networking tool we built for the event. By the way, we can customize a private social network just like this for funky business media. Is that something that would add value to your customers? If so, let's chat. I'm the tall guy walking around in a Hawaiian shirt. Would love to learn more about your audience and how we can help you. That was it. Just sent that little message to everybody. And what Mark told me, he would call me from the event with updates, was that he was mobbed throughout the conference. He was constantly surrounded by 8 to 10 top decision makers who wanted to learn more about deploying a private social network for their own community. And that simple tactic I devised kicked off many sales cycles with many organizations, big organizations too. British Airways, Cisco, Coca-Cola, Google, MTV Networks, Xerox. They all became customers, and it generated revenue for the company for years.
Well, that's music for my ears. I love what you just said. That was basically what you did, was like 101 lead generation, do it the right way. And people are afraid today to even send a simple message to a random follower, because I'm more into the social media world, and I teach people how to do sales, and they run ads, they get the leads, and then they're like terrified to talk to their leads. And like, it's your lead, it's your job to talk to them. And sometimes even a simple message like that one can just kaboom a business, right?
That's right.
And
And
it
by
wouldn't
reaching,
happen if you didn't do it, right?
right. I mean, a lot of these people want to talk to you, but they don't know where to start. And so by being the one that's reaching out, you're breaking the ice and you're opening the door. And they're very appreciative of it. They certainly were when I did it, and it generated quite a bit of business. And your customers can achieve the same results.
Amazing. So whoever watched this, text your leads, talk to your leads, talk to the people you meet, be prepared to have your elevator speech ready, right? All these things matter because you don't know when opportunity will strike. So we mentioned earlier about delegating an orchestra and building a team. So many now, thanks, because I believe we live in the most amazing era ever, even though people see social media as the black mirror of today, right? But I believe that social media is one of the most amazing things happen to humankind, and it give opportunity to ordinary folk like myself from North Macedonia, who changed 4 countries and stuff, to just build an online business and be his own boss and learn the things he actually wants to learn, and not what the mainstream education does for us. And there's so many people now doing online business. They refuse to work the traditional 9 to 5, and the ones who do it right and put the time into it, they can grow really, really fast, like never before in humanity. You did crazy amazingly without basically time having the internet and the social media, right? But now there's so many people, even everybody in my coaching group, who are like building businesses, and they get the clients, and very quickly they need to scale a team. And it's not just a marketing team, but a sales team and everything. So I would like to ask you, well, how does a marketing team scales itself up?
Yeah, great question. Scaling up marketing can be a vexing problem that I've seen organizations really grapple with, because it also speaks to the challenge of how to continue effectively managing and tracking production of content deliverables as demand for more content grows, thus necessitating the need to scale up the marketing team. I think the first thing to remember, Ivan, is that businesses are basically a collection of processes. Marketing departments are no exception. Marketing's processes, along with their constituent details and deadlines, need to be overseen with strong project management skills. Project management oversight should be supported by a capable project management tool. And this is especially true for marketing departments with heavy workloads. So before attempting to scale up, job number one, in my experience, is to deploy a solid project management tool to help in governing and reporting on all of marketing's production projects. And if deployed just right, the project management tool can evolve into becoming the marketing department's central operating system, a single source of truth for real-time status updates on all activities related to all deliverables for all stakeholders. Once that's in place, the chief marketing officer or the VP of marketing will have real-time visibility into individual and team workloads, both current and upcoming. And that in turn provides the ability to perform capacity planning, thanks to the real-time information about the workload pipeline in the project management tool. With that capability, the head of marketing can now see where the bottlenecks are, and maybe shift some resources around, or maybe hire more staff or more freelancers, or maybe rearrange projects based on rapidly shifting priorities. So I'd say, to summarize, the key to scalability starts with good process management.
And do you believe that, let's say, it's somebody who's starting into business? Let's say, in my case, we're using social media and you're starting, you build a business and stuff. Do you believe it's better to invest into learning how to manage all of that and then delegate, or do you believe it's better if somebody who has certain small success in business to immediately outsource all of that?
Okay, so you're talking about somebody who's starting off, they're starting small, maybe it's just
Yeah.
themselves, and yeah.
So they're already in this phase when they're overwhelmed, their head is fuming, right? They start running the ads, they're getting 500 leads, they can't keep up. So, but they have no experience in project management and all the things you just mentioned.
Yeah. If it's somebody with no experience in project management and no interest in project management, outsource immediately. If it's somebody who has no experience but does have an interest and maybe is, one of those perfectionists we discussed earlier, spend the time to learn Monday.com or Asana or Airtable, or there's many capable tools out there. Lots of free video courses. Spend the time. Maybe hire a consultant to help you configure, customize, build whatever templates or workflows would make the most sense for you. But very importantly, if you are going to take a DIY approach, you don't need a tool initially. You need to document your process. Make sure that you know exactly what the steps are, how you want things done before putting those into the project management tool. Make sure you get the process figured out, and then you can put it into a tool that can maybe even automate some of that process. And if you don't have the interest and you don't have the time, again, you really need to go and hire somebody. That's going to be the best use of your money and your time if that's your approach.
Thank you for sharing that. That's very valuable. So, your marketing career has focused on technologies like automation, AI, and cybersecurity. What do you enjoy most about marketing these technologies?
Oh, I love knowing the positive impact that automation, AI, and cybersecurity can provide to people and organizations. Not to get too corny, but it feels good to wake up and know that what you're doing is contributing in its own teeny tiny little way to making the world a better place. I also love the people who you work with in those fields. The automation, AI, and cybersecurity fields tend to attract super smart people. And working around super smart people leaves you with no choice but to become smarter yourself, because there's so much you can learn from your colleagues.
Interesting. And because you've been for a long in the industry, way longer than most people I know, where is the future of automation and AI specifically? What is your stand on that? Now we see all that happens on the internet, like, oh, AI is bad, AI is good, automations are good or bad. What is your personal belief? Where is AI going to be in the next 10 years?
Oh, that's way too far out, given the speed of advancement to really predict. But it might be a little bit unforeseeable. But in general terms, where it's going to be is very central to our lives. It's going to weave itself into the fabric of almost every aspect of work. And, what I would say to people that are wondering, well, is it going to impact me? And if so, how is it going to impact me? And what does this mean for my job prospects? I know that there's a lot of concern out there about this. I think the IMF recently released a report saying 40% of all jobs are going to be impacted in some way. So the first thing I would say is don't panic. Don't panic. AI is the latest in a long history in humanity of technological revolutions that change things in unpredictable, unforeseeable ways. And yes, some people will lose their job because AI will do it better and much cheaper and significantly faster. And some people will have their jobs changed dramatically. In fact, let me give you an example. I used to do a podcast called Intelligent Automation Radio, which you can still find on iTunes, Spotify, and elsewhere. And I once had a guest who talked to me about what AI is doing in the field of radiology. Do you know, by the way, like the best radiologist, how accurate their diagnoses are? What percentage of their diagnoses are accurate?
No, I don't have a slightest clue about it,
He
but
told
it's
me
very interesting to find out.
he told me it was 89%, which means that if you break a bone, or your doctor just wants you to get an X-ray or something, and you get the very best radiologist, there's an 11% chance that whatever their diagnosis is wrong. But, more than 1 in 10. Now, and this was a few years ago, so these percentages have probably changed. But what would you guess is AI's most accurate percentage of diagnoses for examining an X-ray?
Well, I believe it will be 99%, maybe, really high.
It will be eventually. At the time when I spoke with this expert, it was 94%.
Well, that's already quite a lot, right?
It's an enormous amount. I mean, you're looking at it and you're saying, well, 94% is only 5% more than 89%, but that's not the way to look at it. Look at that 11%. That 94% is cutting that in half. It's cutting
Yeah, 50%, right?
erroneous diagnoses by 50%. What does that mean if you're a radiologist? Well, it means your job's going to change. So one thing to do is to stop thinking of yourself as a radiologist and start thinking of yourself as a person who specializes in analyzing X-rays with the help of AI. Because what's probably going to happen is we're not going to need as many radiologists, but the ones that are there are going to manage a bunch of AI bots that are doing the diagnoses. And then there will be, randomly selected diagnoses that are looked at for human verification, just to make sure that there's nothing that was missed, or just kind of a random quality control process. And we're going to be able to have one person manage a far higher volume of radiological diagnoses with the aid of AI. And so you need to start thinking of yourself as a problem solver of a particular type of problem, who, utilizing AI, can be much more productive than a person who's working by themselves without any assistance. And you need to look at AI as a tool that you can leverage to make you better at what you do, and to allow you to add skills in areas that maybe you weren't originally planning on being skillful in, so that you're using AI to become a more overall kind of a manager of processes that previously were done by people, but now are being done with the help of AI. So I think that's going to be how it largely changes a lot of people's roles and occupations. Is it's going to elevate many people, the ones who are not afraid of it and are willing to harness the value of what artificial intelligence can do. And then others who are going to be resistant to change are going to get run over, and their jobs are probably going to change, maybe in ways that are not very pleasant, and they may be eliminated altogether. By the way, I want to mention something that I think you'll find very relevant. You know, it's easy or easier to predict all the damage new technologies will do. When combustion engine vehicles came out, it was easy to predict that the end of the horse and carriage was on the horizon, right? So that sort of thing is easy to predict. When the internet came out, there was all sorts of predictions about how it would change people's jobs and what jobs would be eliminated. But what nobody predicted was that the internet would create new jobs that were not foreseen at the time. A fantastic example is social media consultants, right? I mean, 15
Yeah.
years ago, 20 years ago, you can go to Google and look, the term didn't really exist. And then I don't know what year it was, in the early 2000s, the term social media consultant, social media manager started really taking off because companies, organizations started realizing I need to get on the internet. I need to advertise. Social media is now the way to get in front of eyeballs. And it created this whole new category of occupation that didn't exist 20 years ago. And what company today can survive without a social media consultant or having a social media staff, or if they're large enough, having a team, a department of social media specialists? Didn't exist 15, 20 years ago. The internet and the new technology of the internet in the form of social media made that all possible. So in the same way, I think AI will also create lots of new jobs, but it's hard to predict what those will be. There's people that are trying to predict it, and we'll see if they're right. But I think it'll destroy a lot of jobs, it'll change a lot of jobs, and it'll create a bunch of jobs. And if history's any guide, it'll create more than it destroys. You just have to have an open mind about what the opportunity is.
Yeah, exactly. And I personally also believe that AI will bring more positive vibes than negative to the whole humanity. And as you said, people will have to learn to adapt, just like the way they adapted when the internet came. I remember when the Visa and the Mastercards came to my country, and remember my parents, who were even business owners, were saying like, "Oh, nothing will replace cash. What is this nonsense?" Right? And it was like, well, who carries cash now, right? And I also strongly believe that the educational system cannot just keep up anymore for probably for a few decades. I'm not talking about like law, right? These things don't change, but or medicine, right? Like the conventional medicine, but everything else, most of it is just until they create a program and they get the new professors and and whatever people need to learn, it's just like that's it. It doesn't exist anymore. Now we have a new update, right?
Yeah.
So the new generations, I think they will just adapt easily. Maybe it will be for the people who will be resilient to use it and say, like, oh, that they're just going to be on the losing side of things. But as you mentioned, I also believe it's going to create a lot of opportunities for people. Like, very simple example is like the chat gpt. Everybody's like, oh, it's going to take my job. I'm like, yeah, but somebody still need to give the command to chat gpt and then use that command and analyze it and improve it and then ask him to improve it more, and then it's like multiple interaction with the platform to get where you want to be. uh, do you think we're gonna the AI will get so smart that we can get a Terminator scenario, or that's just a nonsense? Do you think there is a slightest possibility of that?
You should never say never. There's, anything could be possible. We can talk in likelihoods. I think it's extremely unlikely. And, I think here's the reason why. What a lot of people don't understand is that most AI is purpose built. Okay. The AI that's in a Roomba, an autonomous vacuum cleaner, that ability to navigate a room can't suddenly transform into an ability to fly a plane and commit terrorist acts. It doesn't work like that. The AI that is out there, even ChatGPT, as impressive as it is, is still kind of purpose built. I mean, it does very specific things that kind of look like a lot of different things, but it's still very purpose built. We haven't achieved artificial general intelligence yet. AGI, that's kind of the holy grail of the AI community. And so, these apocalyptic doomsday scenarios of, your AI suddenly attaining awareness and becoming a sentient being that realizes that, humans are a pox upon the earth that need to be eradicated. And then, having that Terminator scenario, I don't think that's going to happen. I think it's very overdone. It's great for, science fiction movie plots, but in terms of reality, it's not something I'm worried about.
Did you watch the movie The Creator? One of the, I think it's a few months old.
I haven't seen it.
Watch that movie. It's probably one of the best movies I watched recently. So it is about the humans deciding, okay, we don't need the AI, and now they try to kill all the AI robots, and it's very emotional. It's a really good movie. Watch it. It's called The Creator. It was in the cinemas recently. Maybe it's hard to find the platform. I think it's on Amazon Prime if you have one. Really, really good movie. It makes you think about a lot of things.
Okay,
so
we'll check it out.
Let's move on from the AI. In your personal experience, what is the relationship between marketing and lead generation? Because I find a lot of people don't really understand how these things work. They believe that marketing on its own most of the time will do the job itself without any other interference from your side or from the marketing team and the sales team. So I want you to share with me what is your personal experience about the relationship between marketing and lead generation, and how do you see lead generation as a tool that every business needs?
Yeah. Well, marketing, of course, is there to raise awareness about your product, your service, or your brand, or all of them. And if you've done a good job of raising awareness and generating interest, then you can convert that interest into leads for the top of your sales funnel. You do this by getting prospects to fill out and submit a form with their information, or persuade them to provide their information to sign up for a newsletter or your company's regular email blasts. Once you have that contact info, marketing's role shifts gears from lead generation to lead nurturing in an effort to continue moving the prospect down through the sales funnel. And that's where content like use cases and case studies and testimonials and things like free trials come into play. And the ultimate objective, of course, is to convert that initial awareness, interest, and consideration all the way down to the bottom of the funnel, where a purchase decision results in a sale. So if you're doing things right, you can trace a direct line from your sales back to lead generation, which started off with good marketing.
And why is lead generation so important to every business, to every company's success? Because a lot of again, like myself, I run a lot of ads, and a lot of time I'm asked by prospects and clients like to create a marketing strategy and run ads directly to a sale, right? When they complete a sale, right away from the ad, which works great since social media is there. But if there is no any lead generation after this initial purchase event, what usually happens is there's no repeated business. So I usually try to tell people that every first event that happens, it doesn't matter if it's a free training or it's a purchase of $10, $100, $1,000, it should be seen as a lead generation event. Like, you just ask somebody to spend $1,000 in order to become your lead. Like, the business happens after that. So I find a lot of people don't really understand that lead generation is not just getting a lead and drive them to the sale, but it's way more than that. By lead generation, I also mean lead nurturing, following up, the whole process between buying the attention with the marketing to getting the conversion that you desired, but what is more important, getting multiple conversions over time without spending additional money. And why do you think it's so important businesses to really dive deep into solving this kind of processes in their business and not just rely on good marketing only?
Well, unless you're a not-for-profit operation or your organization is VC-backed and not currently profit-motivated, then lead generation is and always will be one of the most critical aspects of your company's success. Revenue, specifically operating revenues, are generated by sales. So whether those sales come from products, services, subscriptions, or something else, they're still sales that were the end result of a sales process. And that process begins, excuse me, with marketing, creating awareness, which in turn creates interest, which ultimately, hopefully, leads to a sale. Most for-profit ventures want to grow their sales annually, often quarterly. And most, if not all, of those sales began their journey as leads, usually generated by marketing. Beyond that, though, I think lead generation can be valuable in other ways. For example, generating leads brings in a constant stream of new prospects, but not all those prospects want exactly what you're currently offering. Some of them might be seeking a variant of your product or service that maybe you hadn't thought of yet. And that insight could lead you to realize that there's demand for a repurposed version of your current offering, or that maybe there's a market for an add-on to your current offering. Generating leads can also add value to your competitive intelligence gathering. For instance, maybe a prospect enters your sales funnel who's doing some comparison shopping, and they openly share with you that what it is that they like or don't like about the competition's offering. That's valuable insight. So there's many reasons why constant, ongoing lead generation is critical for your organization's success.
And if I ask you now, for example, in near future, which marketing channels do you think will dominate the markets? Where should any business may put their main focus?
Going forward, I think all the specialties that fall under the umbrella of digital marketing will continue to be among the most effective channels. So that means SEO, social media, email marketing, content marketing, web-based advertising. Those will all be good places to invest your resources. Video marketing, particularly the short form videos, have the potential to be highly effective marketing channels. We've seen that influencer marketing can be a great way to get the word out about your product or service. Also, enabling user-generated content, UGC, can be a highly effective way to build authenticity into your marketing, because it provides a space for your best customers, your champions, to advocate on your behalf publicly. Your champion customers can become very cost-effective brand ambassadors if you find the right way to empower them. But one thing I think we shouldn't forget is that the most effective marketing channel by far, and the least expensive as well, is word of mouth. Nothing can compete with the effectiveness of word of mouth, because it's often delivered by a trusted reference. And that carries far more weight with a prospect than just about anything else. In fact, I seem to recall that there was a Nielsen study that said that 92% of consumers trust friends and family more than advertising, which, isn't really much of a surprise. So when you're thinking about digital marketing, video marketing, influencer marketing, don't just think about impressions, cost per click, cost per acquisition. Yes, those are all vital metrics to track. But what you should also think about is, how can I fashion a marketing campaign that will go viral and generate word of mouth? How can I not only get people aware of my offering and interested in learning more, but make it contagious so that they're sharing what they've learned with their peers and colleagues? Keep that objective in mind, and you'll have some very effective marketing campaigns. And of course, having a truly outstanding product that solves a problem really well always generates lots of great word of mouth
Mhm.
buzz.
Yeah, having a great product helps a lot. I've run a lot of ads to businesses who have amazing product and makes life so much easier. Even if a terrible marketing campaign can generate, and that's what social media actually in the beginning did when the advertising happened. It's like even if you had like no clue about marketing and something, because the whole advertising space on the platforms, and especially Meta, were not so congested with advertisers. Like people who started in the beginning made a lot of money, even if they had bad product and they didn't know how to market. And the one who had a great product but didn't know how to market, they still made a lot of money in the beginning, because it was just such a powerful tool to put it in front of people with algorithms, and they could just make millions even without knowing much about marketing and making putting so much effort and resources into it. So I just wanted to ask you guys, do you know, because you mentioned that you believe going forward again will be the digital marketing channels, social media, UGCs, and are you aware that there's an AI models who make hundreds of millions of dollars a month?
AI models, you mean
So
pretending to be?
somebody, yep, who basically representing brands like Nike. So there is a guy who went on Mid Journey and is creating this stunning model lookalike trendy skateboarding girl. I forgot the name of the account, who's generating hundreds of millions in deals. And as we spoke about AI, it's seriously threatening the model and the influencer industry as well, because it's not the only one. I think there are over thousands and thousands who are getting brand deals and they don't even exist. And there's some kid in India managing, for example, something of that, or some kid in Canada, or some kid in Brazil sitting and creating this avatar of a person who gets millions of followers, and they're getting crazy big brand deals. I watched recently Joe Rogan, and they were showing us specifically about this account. It was like a skateboarding kind of a girl who signed I don't know how many millions with Nike, I think it was, and it's just like AI completely. So influencers are a threat as well, because now this AI is getting good and it makes also short form videos with a person that doesn't even exist. And the companies were like, we don't care if you're real or not. Like, we care, do you get the likes and do we get the sales from what you're doing? So it's the next 5-10 years will be very interesting.
So that's another great example of a profession that is under enormous threat, yet also has enormous opportunity. If I was an influencer, I'd be starting to think very strongly about what my next move is. And maybe what my next move is leveraging all the expertise and experience that I've acquired on what works as an influencer, and starting to propagate AI generated avatars, and saying and reintroducing myself to the market as a influencer who uses AI to achieve compound successful results, rather than just a person who is a single individual. And so it's an opportunity for those that are savvy enough to go pursue it, and a whole bunch of other influencers are probably going to have to go back to school and learn some new skills.
Of course, because even that artificial influencer, to get the million views, somebody has to be behind and manage it, all of that, right?
Right.
If there's one thing you can tell your younger self who is starting his career in marketing today, what will that be?
My advice would be to first and foremost develop your storytelling skills. Um, Make that the foundation of your marketing career. Great storytelling is such a key to marketing. Civilizations and religions or based on great storytelling. And great marketing campaigns are too. I'd say then take the time to learn and master as many different skills as you can, starting with digital marketing, and then working your way through other specialties, especially generative AI. Become an expert at prompting an AI chatbot to generate research results, content ideas, etc. And finally, I'd say find a good mentor, someone with the experience and expertise to help you see over the horizon. Someone who can not only offer you guidance, but also has a strong network of contacts he or she can put you in touch with to help advance your career. That would be my advice.
Well, thank you for sharing all of this. And one more time, thank you for being part of this episode. It was pure pleasure. I learned a lot. I took some notes. Definitely going to make a poster about perfection is the enemy of good enough. And I'm really, really grateful that I met you. And there's so much to learn. And I hope so we're going to do this again very soon.
It would be my pleasure. And thank you for having me, Ivan. It's been a real treat.
Cool. Thank you very much. And all the best. And we talk soon.
Bye, everyone.